This is a highly educational piece of sculpture. It blends art and science in a remarkable way. I'm Matthew Jebb, and I'm lucky enough to be the director of the National Botanic Gardens. 8 months ago, I received a telephone call from Professor David McConnell asking me if I'd be interested in allowing them to put a huge sculpture in the Botanic Gardens. Now, sculpture is nothing new to the Botanic Gardens, but this is something truly extraordinary that we have here today.
Here we have the DNA sculpture over here, and it's even an RNA biologist could have to admit that it's iconic and elegant. And some of them would even say that it's a boring storage molecule. But of course, I wouldn't stand in front of Jim Watson, especially since he's going to talk after me and say such a thing.
You know, this sculpture belongs in Ireland and wouldn't belong any other place. Reflecting, I think, you know, your commitment to really understanding the origin of life. That, you know, this is here in the Botanic Garden is wonderful because when you come here, you just think evolution, and when you look at the sculpture, you just think, how did the thing evolve?
You know, it stands there pirouetting and looking beautiful. And actually, I think Jim has talked about it as a beautiful molecule. It is beautiful, especially in its uncoiling mode. However, with RNA, if you look at the RNA over there, and you've got 6 or 7 types coming up the hill in this timeline, and this ribbon that jumps up the hill with a kind of froth at the top of each wave is a different RNA, and it's not the most beautiful looking thing.
Firstly, I'd just like to thank John Atkins for presenting West Cork Education Centre with a proposal to embark on a schools competition based on the story and the history of DNA and RNA. At first, I considered this to be ambitious, but very quickly got to work and realised the huge potential and the inspiration that could be here. It was also wonderful to see how students considered both the seriousness and importance of DNA and RNA, but managed to tell its story in a really light-hearted way, and it certainly brought a smile to our faces as we read through it.
A day in the protein playground. DNA asked, "Where's RNA? RNA is waiting in the wings for you to come undone," replied the ribosome. Cytosine only wanted guanine. Likewise with adenine and its RNA friend uracil. Adenine always ditched thymine for uracil.
Thymine thought adenine was his soulmate, if only he knew about the affair. She's not as purine as he thinks. RNA runs her factory and tries not to complain that her older brother DNA has gained so much fame. Just because he's a double helix, he thinks he's all that. I do more work, and that's a fact.
What science can do is it can bring us to the outer edges of ourselves. It can explore things, and it can show wonderful beauty. And in a funny way, this sculpture actually brings together not just the remarkable discovery of DNA, it also brings together art. And Charles, you are to be congratulated for your wonderful piece of art, which helps to explain this remarkable story. The only reason I'm here, apparently, is to accept this on behalf of the Irish people, and which is a wonderful honour. And on behalf of the Irish people, I want to thank you for your presence here this evening, but thank all of the people who made this happen. It's a remarkable structure, it's a remarkable piece of art, and it's a remarkable piece of science that we should all celebrate and be proud of. Thank you very much.
And so the sculpture representation is only 20 million times or so bigger than the real thing in our cells. Each of the 10 million human cells in our bodies has between 1 and 10 million of them.
Jim Watson is Mr. DNA. There's no question he's Mr. DNA, along with Francis Crick.
May this new and highly original Charles Jencks sculpture be a tribute to the counterparts of Darwin, be an inspiration to some and a pleasure to many. Gamagev Shinawil. In contrast to Darwin's hypothesis of life originating in a warm little pond, the sculpture symbolically starts with primordial RNA. Part of the suggestive evidence for RNA coming before protein synthesis in DNA is that RNA can facilitate reactions as well as acting as genetic information. The ribosome is a complex RNA-based nanomachine in which the genetic information specifies the order of building blocks in protein.